This regular meeting of the Judson Board of Trustees is hereby called to order at 5 p.m. I am very pleased that you have taken the time to join us this evening. As the Judson Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, policies, and oversee the management of the district. We are responsible for approving budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and to listen to reports from the superintendent. We are not here to make administrative or management decisions pertaining to the daily operations of the district. This is the responsibility of the superintendent. In compliance with the State Government Code on Open Meetings, tonight's agenda has been appropriately posted. This is a meeting in public, not a meeting of the public. As our guest, you are welcome to observe and listen. These proceedings are being video and audio recorded and will become part of Judson's permanent legal record. In order that the tape adequately reflects these proceedings, please silence your mobile devices and refrain from talking while others are speaking. Since it is legally mandated that these proceedings are recorded accurately, I may have to ask for order periodically should I notice that disruptions are interfering with our recording capabilities. Once again, I extend to each of you a sincere welcome from the entire school board. Thank you for your interest in Judson ISD. We have established a quorum, and I will call roll. Okay, you can mark your presence. Okay, we have 6 members present. The board will now adjourn into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, discussing personnel, the personnel report, and updates including new hires, resignations, and administrative appointments. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551074, discussion regarding board members' duties, roles, and responsibilities. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 and 551.0821, deliberation and consultation with school attorney regarding pending litigation and possible settlement of student versus Judson Independent School District before a special education hearing officer for the state of Texas, docket 129 SE 0125. Pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.0821, discussion regarding matters involving personally identifiable information of public school students. The time is now, I lost my phone already, 5:03, and we are in closed session. We'll return at 6. The time is now 6:04, and the board is now reconvening in open session. No final action, decision, or vote was taken while the board was in closed session, and Mrs. Lee joined us in closed session. So we have a full board of 7 tonight. All right, we are going to move on to, if everyone could rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Stanford, would you mind leading us in an invocation tonight?
Father in heaven, be with us in tonight's meeting to bless our discussions and decisions with wisdom and our interactions with grace and with love. Increase your presence in our district, Lord. Be with our employees, our students, our families, citizens, and guide us through the challenges we face. Even though they may seem impossible to us, nothing is impossible to you. In Jesus' name.
Amen. If everybody could please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Any recognitions? I guess not. There are no recognitions.
All right, the next item on our agenda is public comment period. This is the time for citizens, staff, or students to provide their comments to the board. A meeting that is open to the public under the Act is one that the public is entitled to attend. However, the Act does not give the public a right to speak at such meetings, except to address their grievances through the proper channels. As a courtesy to the public, the Judson Independent School District Board of Trustees allows time for public comment. Statements and questions from the audience will not be permitted during other portions of the meeting, so please sign up for public audience if you have comments to present. To have your comments heard tonight, your name and the topic of your comments must be written on a sign-in sheet prior to the start of the open meeting, which is located in the rear of the room. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes to complete his or her comments. As the presiding officer, I will strictly enforce the time limits. Also, profanity, yelling, inappropriate, uncivil, or discriminatory comments will not be permitted. In accordance with Judson ISD Board Policy BED Local, in the event your comment, in my judgment as the presiding officer, constitutes a complaint or charge against an employee or officer, it will be necessary for me to interrupt you, ask you to stop, and direct you to seek resolution of your complaint through the district's appropriate formal grievance policy, DGB-A for employee complaints, FNG for student or parent complaints, or GF for public complaints. By law, the Judson Independent School District Board of Trustees cannot lawfully discuss, deliberate, make comments, or make a decision on any matter raised in the public comment period which is not specifically listed on the board agenda for this meeting. If you have any handouts to distribute to the board, please hand them to the secretary to the Board of Trustees next to the podium. With those cautions in mind, we'll be glad to hear the general comments. Okay. All right. First up, I have Ms. Amber Gonzalez and Heidi Meist. You'll be next on deck, just so you know who's next.
Good evening, Dr. Fields, Cabinet, and Board. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I did send a longer version of this message via email to everybody on the board the other night. I come before you not only as a principal, but as the voice of many administrators across Judson ISD who are deeply concerned about the decision to give no raise to principals and assistant principals this year. We are the instructional leaders of our campuses. We are charged with ensuring safety, academic success, staffing, morale, parent communication, student discipline, and accountability, all while balancing state mandates, district initiatives, and the unique needs of our school communities. The expectations grow each year, yet the message we received this year was clear. Everyone else in Judson ISD deserves a raise, except administrators. The decision carries more than just a financial impact. It affects morale, recruitment, and retention. Neighboring districts are offering more competitive pay and incentives. If Judson does not keep pace, we risk losing effective leaders. And when campuses lose strong leadership, student achievement suffers. This is not about asking for extra, it's about asking for equity and respect. If our teachers, custodians, bus drivers, and central office staff are seen as worthy of cost of living adjustments, why not the very people charged with leading campuses through accountability ratings, safety crises, and staffing shortages? I ask you to consider this message this sends: to tell principals and assistant principals that our workload can grow, but our pay cannot. Communicates that leadership does not matter. And yet we all know a school rises or falls on the strength of its leadership. Tonight I urge you to reconsider, invest in us so that we can continue to invest in our staff, our students, and our community. Let us move Judson forward by valuing all who serve, especially those who are tasked with leading the charge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gonzalez. Okay, Heidi Meist, you are up, and after you will be Jessica Lapierre. You're on deck.
Good evening, Dr. Fields, Cabinet, and Board. My name is Heidi Meist, and this is my third year as academic trainer at Copperfield Elementary. It is extremely disheartening that all academic trainers and coaches were, and possibly still are, on the chopping block at Judson ISD. I don't know how the curriculum audit determined that only 32% of teachers were supported by academic trainers or coaches, but I guarantee you that we support 100% of the teachers on our campuses through PD, collaborative planning, modeling, co-teaching, supporting the classroom, data digs during PLCs, and so much more. I could list all of our other responsibilities that would take me way over my 3-minute allotted time. As if the threat to end our positions weren't enough, we were not included in the House Bill 2 raise for teachers. I understand the House Bill states we must have a roster and or teach 50% of the day. Our roster is every teacher on our campus, so in turn, every student on our campus. After 25 years in the classroom, I moved into this position to share my expertise and support my fellow teachers. With House Bill 2 going into effect, a teacher with 13 years of experience in Judson ISD now makes more than myself with 27 years of experience in a leadership role. We were overlooked with TIA and once again with House Bill 2. Many neighboring districts included their instructional coaches by matching what the state had given classroom teachers. Their actions conveyed a feeling of value and worth to teachers in the academic leader role. We once again felt devalued when Judson ISD decided to leave us out. When I started as the academic trainer at Copperfield in 2023, we had a D rating and a score of 63. In 2024, we grew to a C rating at a score of 70, and this year we have grown once again with a score of 76, 4 points away from a B rating. Academic trainers make a difference on every campus. Our work is of significance. When discussion of item 8B occurs this evening, I hope you will remember the impact each academic trainer has on the education of every child in this district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meist. Jessica Lapierre, you are up, and Tiffany Gutierrez will be next.
Hello, my name is Jessica Lapierre, and I am a school counselor at Wagner High School. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. I am here to advocate for a group of professionals who are too often undervalued and underpaid, our school counselors. We are more than just schedule managers or college advisors. We are frontline mental health professionals, crisis responders, advocates, and mentors for every student who walks through our door. We help students navigate anxiety, trauma, bullying, family instability, and career uncertainty, all while juggling hundreds of students at once. Our work directly impacts academic performance, graduation rates, and overall school climate, yet our pay does not reflect the complexity, responsibility, or emotional labor our role demands. A raise for school counselors is not just about fairness, it's about investment. Investing in school counselors is investing in student well-being, school safety, and long-term success. If we want to support the whole child, we must support the professionals who guide and protect them every day. Teachers are defined as educators who are employed by a school district and who, not less than an average of 4 hours each day, teach in an academic instructional setting. Although we are not in a classroom setting, we do teach at least 4 hours per day about how to graduate, how to regulate emotions, how to make good choices, how to make friends, how to choose a college or career. The list goes on and on. Additionally, we are in classrooms for guidance lessons, which last an entire day. We are truly educators for life. I respectfully request that you consider adding an item to a future agenda to provide a retention incentive for school counselors to address ongoing pay shortages, as we are all deserving. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lapierre. Tiffany Gutierrez and Amy May, you'll be after that.
Good evening, board members, cabinet, and Dr. Fields. My name is Tiffany Gutierrez, and I'm a school counselor with 17 years in public education and a proud AFT member. I came across this quote last night, and it's really what motivated me to speak to you, as it highlights the significant impact of one small aspect of a school counselor's work, supporting emotional regulation. Quote, "Teaching people how to regulate their emotions is crime prevention, it's addiction prevention, it's suicide prevention, it's generational healing. It's how we stop raising adults who explode, implode, or shut down at the first sign of discomfort. Emotional regulation is not just a soft skill, it's survival. It's the foundation of a society where people can disagree without dehumanizing each other, where accountability isn't seen as an attack, and where conflict doesn't always have to mean violence. You want a better world? Start with emotional education." Social emotional learning isn't a fad. It isn't indoctrination. It isn't the 45 minutes that the counselor visits a classroom. It is the ongoing process of how students and adults acquire, practice, and make progress towards effectively understanding and managing emotions and stress while developing healthy relationships and effective communication patterns. We educate students, we educate staff, we educate families. In a time when the needs of our students exceed resources available, our district is reducing the number of counselors, reducing days, and expecting everyone to do more with less. A lack of social emotional development can be a significant barrier to academic achievement. Judson school counselors bring the knowledge, expertise, and experience of both a classroom teacher and a mental health professional. We are in a unique position to utilize a specialized set of skills and should be compensated for such. If we truly value SEL, mental health, and academics like we claim, then counselors should be included in compensation adjustments.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. And I'm sorry, Annie May. I'm sorry, I said
Yes,
Amy before.
it's a common mistake.
I was mixing my ends together. So go ahead, Ms. May.
Okay, so I'm Amy May, and I'm a school counselor at Wagner High School and a proud AFT member. I'm honored to be here with colleagues that have many years of experience in teaching and counseling. My hope today is that you will consider adding a retention incentive for school counselors as an item on the agenda on your next board meeting. When school counseling was first established as a field, it was performed at that time by administrators and teachers, but over time it has become more specialized. Our master's degree education, our training, and a certification is now required to do what we do. So we are not interchangeable any longer. We are uniquely educated and trained to support students' academic, social, and emotional well-being, as well as to address mental health concerns. Research evidences and data continues to support that our positions ensure the success of students in schools. We remove obstacles to their learning. My colleagues are holding signs, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, are holding signs which show years of service and experience to that end. Just this week, I was pondering with a friend about how many students our lead counselor has seen cross the stage. That number is likely near the tens of thousands. So we make a difference, and I hope that we will be worthy of that future conversation about a retention incentive for us. And thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ms. May. Mrs. Amy Haddis.
Hi, everybody. Good evening, trustees, Dr. Fields, and Cabinet. I'm Amy Haddis, your favorite Haddis, the one you'd rather have up here because you like me better than the other guy. I know that, trust me. Some of you are laughing harder because you know him well. I'm here tonight to speak for the counselors who stand with our kids every single day. For 27 years, I've served this district, 16 as a teacher and 11 years as a counselor, to be a certified school counselor in Texas. When I started, you had to have taught for at least 2 years, have a master's degree in counseling, and pass an exam to be a certified school counselor. I have listened to board meetings, and I hear social emotional learning talked about often in this room. Every day, it's the counselors who do that work that you talk about. We're the ones teaching self-regulation, empathy, resilience, and bullying prevention, not in theory, but in real moments with real kids. As a counselor, teachers refer their students to me so I can teach them to self-regulate when they're dealing with trauma from situations such as abuse. I deal with anxiety issues, depression, and help manage stress. These are the things that lead to better attendance and higher academic outcomes. You see, when our kids are dealing with these issues and doing just their best to survive, they don't have the capacity to learn as much less turn in homework or pass a test. We've all heard the words budget deficit, fund balance, fader. Counselors are left behind on the pay scale by the state and by the board. I did my part with the state. I visited 6 different state rep and senator offices where I spoke with each of the elected officials or their chiefs of staff about school counselor pay. I've been told that counselors will see better compensation if Vader is passed. We're told there's no money, but tonight, for example, we see incentives on the agenda for others. That sends the wrong message. It divides our district instead of uniting us. If we truly value if we truly value kids, then we must value the people who make it happen. Counselors aren't optional, we're essential, and it's time that pay reflects that. I urge you, put retention incentives for counselors on your next agenda. Our kids can't afford for us to feel undervalued, and neither can this district. And I will tell you what I always tell you all if I email you or talk to you, thank you for doing the job I don't ever want to do. And that's not sucking up, that's the truth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Haddis. All right, I'll give them a moment to return. And then we will proceed on with 5A, which is from our closed session. Do I have a motion on 5A regarding the personnel report and updates?
I move we accept the personnel report as presented in closed session.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Canoyer, a second by Ms. Stanford. We discussed in closed session, so, okay, we can proceed to vote. Okay, motion passes 7-0. We'll move on to 5B. I will do this motion. I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and the school's attorney and direct the superintendent and the school's attorney to proceed as discussed in closed session concerning student versus Judson ISD before a special education hearing officer for the state of Texas, docket number 129 SE 0125. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Ryan, second by Ms. Canoyer. Hold on, let me keep proceeding here. Okay, you can proceed to vote. Okay, motion passes 7-0. All right, we will move on to item 6A, the construction report. Go ahead, Dr. Fields, or whoever you have talking about that.
Yes, ma'am. I asked Mr. Brooks to just go over briefly. All of you have received the construction report. I just wanted him to give an update on the 2 new schools that opened up recently. Mr. Brooks?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Happy to report that we do have certificates of occupancy for both schools, obviously, because we're in there on the first day. What we are currently doing is furniture has been distributed throughout both the schools. We're dealing with some replacement items as far as furniture for both schools as well. For Selma, the contractor is working on some door hardware. There's some adjustments that need to be made. Probably the most major issue there, not issue, but the thing that needs to be completed is the courtyard. That is slated to be done mid-September, just to complete the courtyard, landscaping, those types, and then the general punch list items that need to be completed at Selma. At Cibolo Creek, much the same with the furniture, also landscaping there. The playing fields, the sod has been laid, and so there's a period of time that has to go in order for them to get the certificate of occupancy for those fields. So that takes about 90 days to happen. So we're looking at about October for that. And then, again, other general punch list items that need to happen on any major construction projects. So that's where we are for both campuses.
Okay, questions from the board on those items or anything else from the construction report? Go ahead, Mr. Macias.
Yes, thank you for your report, and yes, I was very happy to see the facilities open up. But I did get a call from a couple of groups that are related to the HOA up in the Wortham Oaks area regarding some things regarding potholes in the roads and things like that. So I just wanted to know, are you guys working closely to try to resolve some of those issues?
Yes, sir. There was a meeting held today. Mr. Ben Mora had a meeting with some HOA members up there along with the management team. They did identify some areas that we need to take a look at, and we're working a plan now to take care of those issues.
Okay. Thank you. It's on your radar, and I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I do want to say thanks to all of our staff for their patience, because you did not get in there in July to set up your room and everything else. And so to all the family, friends, kids, teacher friends, and everybody who literally surged to those campuses and were helping hang up stuff on walls and helping get people organized, it takes a village, and I got a chance to go out to Cibolo Creek and see Village on a Sunday, and everybody helping each other move in. So thank you for your patience, teachers, and not having as much prep time for your rooms as we normally like to give you, but I was glad to see so many people coming out to help support you and help you get you all set. And Cibolo Creek was barbecuing. The new barbecue team at Cibolo Creek was barbecuing out there while they were moving in, and that's what it's about is team morale, right? I did have two questions. How are we doing on, when do we think it's hot, right? It's August and the kids are back to school and gyms again, right? So fall 2025, what's the contractor saying about when we're going to be able to kind of wrap those up? Fall's kind of a broad timeframe.
We're talking gym ACs?
Gym ACs, yes.
Gotcha. I would ask if Ruben could come up to kind of finish that up. But I know we're currently in Millers Point, talking to Ms. McKinney this evening.
My
about it.
follow-up will be the playgrounds too, because I know I've rolled around a number of campuses and we've got playgrounds down and new ones back
Yes,
up
ma'am.
yet. So those are the two that I know are very high visibility for our campuses and for
Yes,
our
ma'am.
parents and our students. So a
So
little update on those. I
The
would appreciate.
playgrounds I can answer for you. Right now, our timeline is September of this year to be complete.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you.
And then as far as let me get there.
HVAC in the gyms?
Come on. All right. Yes. He's our project manager for.
Good evening. Yes, just a quick update on the gym upgrades. We're targeting the end of September. Currently, we've got a big majority of all the units set, and it's just parts and pieces to get them turned on. The few outstanding we do have is just a couple that need to be actually set. A lot of the inside rough-in stuff is complete. So we're targeting the end of September. So far, we're on track. No major delays or anything expected on that.
That's great news for our families.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And I'm sure our PE teachers and all the other teachers with playgrounds and everything will be very happy, to have those up and running and have
Yes.
them for the majority of the school year.
And so far, we've got good feedback from the stuff that is on. Apparently, it feels a lot better than no AC at all, so that's a good.
We're going to drive by schools and no kids are going to be outside. So they're all going to be, everybody wants to hang out in the gym now. So that's great. And for, again, back to safety, right? Like, things happen in neighborhoods and stuff like that, and when we got to go into, a secure, for our students being able to get into a gym and close a door and be able to wait it out until, it is safe to open the doors back up. That's really important for our students, that they have somewhere that they can go and we can have them in a secure location. Any other questions on the construction report?
I just wanted to make a statement. I've been in your position, Mr. Brooks, and opened up many schools. We put a tighter window on these two than I've ever seen before. So from the facilities department and all of the construction teams and architectural teams that work with you, and the technology department, I can't say how much I appreciate you for what you guys did to pull that off. Thank you so much.
Yes, definitely. I think on all the bond projects, really, and the 2016 and 17, we pushed y'all hard, right? We set some really high expectations, a year and a half ago on you guys, and I think you really have risen to the challenge and seeing things just rolling. Everything's rolling, like everything's moving. It's 100 things. So is bond oversight starting next month? Or October? Okay, awesome. We'll make sure we get that out to our community leaders. That'll be restarting. So, okay, if nothing else on that, hold on.
Thank you.
Habit of, oh yes, thank you, gentlemen. I like to misplace my agenda often. So, all right, now we are going to move on to the consent agenda. I'm pulling two things off of there. We're going to pull C because there's one item up on there that is related to enrichment 8A that is later on in the agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll deal with 8A and then we'll come back to that
Understood.
one. So I'll pull that because we can approve the other three are up for vote. And then
So my understanding is we're going to approve the first three?
first three, yes.
And then that last
We'll just
part
hold on.
will be excluding the last one.
Correct, yep, and
Yes,
after we deal with 8A, then we'll go
Perfect.
back and do that one
Thank you.
item then and take a vote on that one. So
Yes,
Mrs.
ma'am.
Potteet, if you can remind me of that, when we get to 8A, that we go back to 7C, sorry, one part of 7C. And then I'm going to pull O because the superintendent's got a little update for us on the way ahead on the shack. So we're going to let you talk through that just for a couple minutes
Yes,
on O, just so the community knows kind of the changes of that and how we're going to move forward.
Understood.
O. Yeah, so C and O. All right, now I'll go down the line and see what else. C and O we're going to pull. Correct, we're going to do part of C now, and then we're going to do one of the four of C a little bit later.
But not coming back to O.
O, we're going to talk about and vote, yes. We'll pull it, talk about it, and then we'll vote on that one here, so.
Gotcha.
Okay, Mrs. Canoyer, anything you're pulling?
No.
Okay, Ms. Stanford?
I did want to pull D.
Okay,
D.
okay. Mrs. Potteet?
No.
Mr. Macias?
No, but will I be reading 7U after we pass the consent, or do I need to pull?
After we
Oh, I'm sorry, we'll read the proclamations after we pass consent.
Okay.
Mrs. Jones?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Lee? Okay, so it looks like the only ones we currently have pulled are C as in Charlie, D as in Delta, O as in Oscar. Can I get a motion on the rest of the consent, and then we'll read the proclamations when we are done?
I move that we approve the consent agenda excluding items C, D, and O.
Okay, can I get
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Canoyer, a second by Mr. Macias. Oops, I was forgetting to record. Okay, you can cast your votes. Okay, motion passes 7-0. If we could go back to C, which was the purchases over 50,000. I did not have any questions on risk management, Star Insurance, or HVAC. The last item on there is Sam's Lab for the enrichment program, so.
Understood. And you want to talk about
Yeah, I'm
8A
asking that
first?
we vote on the top three and then come back to the enrichment Sam Lab as part of 8A.
Perfect.
And did any of the board members have any questions on the first three items that were on the purchases over 50?
I just like to always state the total of this item, just for public information, but the total of the 4 items in this 7C item is $509,536.
Okay, any other questions on C? Okay, then I'll make the motion that we approve expenditures equal to or greater than 50,000 to include the Risk Management Fund, TASB, U.S. Specialty Star Insurance, and HVAC Rental LLC.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Ryan, second by Ms. Jones, because Ms. Poteet was too slow. All right. All right. Oops. Okay, we can proceed to vote on this one. Okay, and motion passes 7-0, and then don't lose that piece of paper if you're on hard copy. We will come back to Sam Labs. All right, it's normally paragraph 5, 70. Ms. Stanford, you pulled that one.
So we have a new format for the budget amendments, and I knew the minute I saw this that Mr. Kingman, you were going to be Ms. Ryan's BFF forever. I knew she would love this, and she does. But being a new format, I just wanted you to kind of go over it, just to show us where to look for things. It's real tiny, but I'm kind of used to seeing each budget amendment highlighted, where I know exactly what is amended. And this says amendments as of August 21. So I didn't know if it went all the way back to June 30 or July 31 or August 1. What's the window?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, on your sheet, you should see 4 different columns.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is the original budget, which is basically the budget that the board approved as of July 1st.
Yep.
And then the second column is the budget as of the 31st, 2025, which is the last budget amendment. And the next one is what we are proposed to change. So the $30,259 in the revenue is
Right.
basically what we propose to amend the budget from the $245,507,209 to $245,537,468. So that's a difference of $30,259. And if you go to the second page, we have the details of that particular $30,259. So that's the two on the middle of the second page. You will see that is a revenue from the insurance claim, and also a roll forward from the state for police training. For police department training. So that explains the $30,259.
Okay.
So the last column that you see on the first page is basically what the budget would look like after we make the amendment on the third column, right? So the reason that we decide to choose with this format is if you look at the deficit or surplus at the bottom, the red number. So we adopt the budget with the deficit of $37,225,000. And then as of the end of July, which is the last budget amendment, what we did is we include all of the revenue from House Bill 2 and the change from the 100,000 to 140,000. So that's already been adopted by the board as of the last board meeting. So that's the reason why you see the revenue come from 234,000 to 245, right? And now with the 30,000, that's what the last column show. So in terms of the expenditure, you see that the board have the budget of 271 million in the beginning. As of the end of July, we cut a few positions, and the budget is at 270 million. So what we bring to the board today to try to amend is to adjust the expenditure budget to address the compensation plan that the board has adopted last board meeting. So the total cost of it is roughly 7.8 million. So that would increase the expenditure budget from 270 million to 277 million, which result in a deficit of 32,449,000. But we also have a $4.8 million transfer out from the general fund to the self-funded fund. So if you add the 32.4 million to the 4.8 million together, the deficit right now is 37,249,135, right? So I think with this budget amendment, you can be able to track exactly what the deficit look like and what your budget look like every single time we did the budget amendment. So the first column will always stay the same because that's the original budget. The fourth column will be the second column the next time we bring the budget amendment back to the board. So the second column is always going to be what your budget is right now. And the third column would be what you propose to change. And the last one would be what the budget look like after the change. And all of the details is on the second page. The first part of the budget amendment is basically just a cross-function transfer from the departments and the campuses. The bottom of it, when it says budget revision, we just talk about the revenue changes, the 30,259, and the rest of the budget amendment is basically related to the compensation plan, and we broken down by function so you know exactly what go into each function. For example, function 11, the increase for the teacher retention allotment is 7 million, and the SSRA, which is the support staff retention, is 438,000, for 119,000 for stipend, and we also have an adjustment of 740,000 less for a few positions that we get out of the budget. So the net amount of all of that would equal to 6.8 million. So if you go down the line, that is how you come up with the 7.8 million that we propose to adjust for the expenditure budget. So if you want to see how much we spend on health services for the SSRA, you can see that if you go down to function 33, you're going to see that it's 35,406. And just for the record, the SSRAs that we get, the estimate number is 829,000, and the proposed spending for the 1.5% equal to roughly 1.2 million. So if you add up all of the SSRA number, you will see that number equal to 1.2 million. So yeah, so the bottom line is with the new format, we can kind of easy to track what the current budget is, what the current deficit is, and if we make any kind of adjustment, you will see immediately what the new deficit or what the new budget look like.
Yeah, you like it, huh?
I do. Part of being a learning organization is not that what we were doing was bad, but we can learn from other places and new formats and try new things. And I have no questions on this document. Imagine that, right? And I couldn't come up with a single thing to ask about money, so I love it. Because especially this year, we're going to be trying to reduce expenses, reduce that deficit, right? So this allows us that visibility of all the work we put in to kind of right-size the finances. I think we're going to be able to track that as we go through month by month. And really, we're going to know exactly where we are deficit-wise, where we are fund balance at the end of the year. We're going to see that real time every month. So hopefully this will be a helpful document to everybody because, again, I'm in love with the format.
Yeah.
So.
Mr. Kingman, do you have the figure we started with, the deficit number we started with
Yes.
when we went into budget season?
Which is 37,225,000 on the first column.
No, I mean, before any.
I think she means like the original budget workshop back in April before
What
you
we
were here.
started with, do
It was
you
like
know?
50.
Was
The
it 47,
original-
48?
The original was 40, then it went up to 45, and then it came back down to 37.
So 45 was our max?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions on 7D? Ms. Stanford, do you want to make the motion then?
Are you sure you don't want to?
No, I will second you, so I got dibs on seconds.
Okay. That is, we will love to make this motion to approve the attached budget amendments to the budget for the 2026 fiscal year.
And I wholeheartedly second that. All right, we will proceed to vote. Okay, and the motion passes 7-0. All right, we are going to move on to 7O, one of many things we'll see on agendas related to the legislative updates. And so we had integrated our shack into our DSBC under a DOI exemption, under a District of Innovation, and now that's not allowed. So now we have to remove it, and you guys have a new plan. So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Fields.
Correct. Under Senate Bill 12, it stated that we can no longer couple our shack meetings with our district site-based meetings. So we'll have to gin up our shacks again. What we did was we tried to put in for board view Dr. Johnson's plan to move forward with recruiting people to be on the shack and how that's going to go about, how she'll contact different people in the community and get all of the required board members on the team on there. That's in your board handout. I don't want to speak to this as lock solid what we're going to do going forward, but here's an outline of how we'll get that done. So we're not just taking it out of the district site base without a plan on how to go forward. You see a highlight of what that plan's going to look like in the board book. And as we start to bring that together, I'm sure we'll be coming back to the board to find out which one of the board members will be sitting on the shack board as well.
Yeah, because this is something where our board and the counselors and the principals and everybody else, because the shack is a very parent-heavy committee. And he's looking at me because I was on the shack when I first moved to this district. They're like, hey, come be on a committee, right? But we have parents out in our community who are looking to get involved, right? How can I know more about what's going on in the district? How can I get involved in things? And this is one of those that you can come get involved in. We talk about child nutrition and what's on the food menu and exercise programs and other things we can do for the health of our kids in this district. So it really is a great committee to be on, to get involved in. So, you know, as we're out talking to our community members and you're talking to your parents at Meet the Teachers and open houses and some of the other things, and they want to be interested, please. And who should, if we have names, I'm sorry, who's going to be the point of contact that we could send names
Dr.
over
Paula
to?
Johnson.
Okay, so if you have names, send names over to Dr. Johnson, and you want a really robust roster, because sometimes life happens to people and they fade away a little bit when stuff's going on. So if we can get a really robust start to this and lots of names, then we'll just keep it going. So.
And I know we use a lot of acronyms. SHAC is School Health Advisory Committee. They talk about everything from sex education to what the students are going to eat. So.
Yeah, so but another great way to get involved, and I know he's looking for something else to get involved in. So, okay, that was the
Ms.
only.
Ryan?
Oh, yes, please,
I
go
would
ahead.
like to comment,
Ms.
please. First, I'd volunteer to be the board representative on that
Thank
committee.
you, Ms. Knoyer.
But also, I have a parent already who has reached out, who's
Nice.
super interested, and
Excellent.
so I will pass that name on to Dr. Johnson and
Please.
reach out to him as well and let him know.
Thank you, ma'am.
Awesome. All right, any other questions on, this motion will be, this agenda item specifically, we have to remove it from our DOI
Correct.
plan.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's what the actual action tonight is, and then the follow-up will be them implementing the shack. So any questions on the removal of that from the DOI before we do a motion and a vote? No. All right, I pulled this one, so I move to approve the removal of exemption 4, Local School Health Advisory Council from the District of Innovation Plan as required by Senate Bill 12.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Ryan, second by Ms. Potteet. All right, and we can vote. All right, motion passes 7-0. All right, that wraps up consent. So now we had a number of proclamations that we approved in the consent agenda, and we would like to read those because those are very important, celebrating a number of things that will be going on in the month. So, Ms. Jones, would you mind reading the National Immunization Awareness Month proclamation?
National Immunization Awareness Month is an opportunity to raise awareness about why vaccines are important for people of all ages and how they can help prevent serious, sometimes deadly diseases and illnesses. Immunization is an important role in keeping our families and communities healthy. We, the Judson Independent School District Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim August 2025 as National Immunization Awareness Month and encourage all to consult healthcare providers to review immunization records, stay up to date on recommended vaccines, and learn about the science behind how vaccines work to prevent serious illness.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jones.
Before we move on from
Yeah.
that, can I just say
Please.
one more shout out? Since we brought on our director of nursing, we've gone from having a bunch of concerns about immunizations to it not even being an issue anymore. So to all of the nurses and to our director, thank you so much for what you've done.
Mr. Macias, could you read the National Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation?
Yes. The National Hispanic Heritage Month honors the cultures and contributions of both Hispanic and Latino Americans. This month-long celebration coincides with days in which many Central American countries celebrate their independence. We, the Judson Independent School District Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2025 as National Hispanic Heritage Month and urge our community and all of our citizens to observe this with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. I look forward to getting around to some schools because the decorations on the doors and everything, come on, teachers, up your game, because I've seen some amazing ones during that month going around schools. Mrs. Poteet, would you mind reading the Human Resource Professionals Day?
Human Resources Professionals Day is celebrated to recognize and appreciate the hard work and dedication of human resource professionals who are vital to the district's efforts in recruiting, hiring, and retaining quality employees. Human Resources plays a key role in fostering satisfaction and loyalty among employees. We, the Judson Independent School District Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim September 26, 2025 as Human Resource Professionals Day, and urge students, staff, and parents to express their appreciation to our Human Resources team members for their service and commitment to Judson ISD employees and students.
I see a couple of our Human Resource Directors back there. Please pass that on to your staff and thank them for everything that they do. Ms. Canoyer, would you mind reading the National Suicide Prevention Week proclamation?
Yes, thank you. This one's very personal to me. National Suicide Prevention Week is an opportunity to raise the visibility of the mental health resources and suicide prevention services available in our community. Each and every suicide directly impacts a minimum of 100 individuals, including family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, and community members. We, the Judson Independent School District Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim September 7th through 13th, 2025, as National Suicide Prevention Week and urge all to participate in mental health awareness and education activities, not only during September, but also throughout the year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Canoyer. Mrs. Lee, would you read the American Indian Heritage Day proclamation, please?
American Indian Heritage Day is a day to recognize the historical, cultural, and social contributions made by American Indian communities and leaders in Texas. We, the Judson Independent School District Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim September 26th of 2025 as American Indian Heritage Day and urge our community and all our citizens to observe this with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Lee. All right, that wraps up the proclamations and wraps up our consent agenda. So we'll move on to discussion, consideration of action items. So 8A, discussion and possible action regarding approving the implementation of gifted, talented, and the academic enrichment program as deemed necessary by administration. Go ahead, Dr. Fields.
Yes, ma'am. The board voted, I believe it was last month, on how we would move forward with our academic enrichment. And it was falling under the responsibilities of the librarians. And then we stated that we would go forward and hire 10 academic enrichment teachers. To Mrs. Canoyer's point, it proved difficult to get all those teachers to come in. So we came up with another proposal that we felt like would even decrease the deficit more. So Ms. Davis, if you could speak to that.
Yes, sir. On August 6th, the board made a motion to hire 6 more teachers to do TAG and AET. and have all of our tag teachers do AET. Based on GT teacher feedback that we communicated with them, and they shared their thoughts with us, administration's recommending that GT and AE programs function separately and permit the implementation of both programs as deemed necessary by administration. The proposal that we're sharing is that we would use the 10 GT teachers split amongst the elementary campuses to provide GT services by the caseload, which is exactly the motion that was voted on May 15th. On May 15th, we were talking about attriting down to 10. This proposal would help us realize that now. We use 10. At the time that we were planning this, we had 14 GT teachers. We have now attrited to 12. We would use 10 to provide services for GT across the district by the caseload, and then 2 have volunteered to do AET. We would hire, the proposal would be to hire additional paraprofessionals so that there would be 1 position for AET at each of the campuses. The proposal that we're sharing now would actually be a savings of $50,000 from what it would take to hire all teachers. In addition, we would realize the savings that we discussed about on May 15th immediately by using 10 GT teachers.
Say again, ma'am. No problem.
I'm sorry, I just remembered.
No, go ahead, Ms. Lee. You have a question? Go ahead.
Yes.
Go.
What happened to the other two? Because I remember that we altogether it's 14, and then the extra 4 would go to the AET, but now it's just 2?
Yes,
Or-
two
and
have,
then-
2 have left.
Oh,
So
2
now
have
we're down to 12. We were 14 last week, we're
And
down
then
to
down to
12.
12.
It would be difficult to hire teachers, so that's why we're proposing to hire paras. That would actually be a savings of $50,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Ms. Stanford.
Yes, we had turned this over to the librarians,
Yes, ma'am.
and they didn't want to do this. So that's why we took it away from the librarians. But if the librarians did this, would it qualify them for the state raise?
I believe that there would be a possible way for them to get it. If they're teaching those classes that are required, then they would qualify.
So my
But
question, do they know that?
I know that they came in and stated that they did not want it.
But do they know that? That, I wonder is it too late, I mean, to give them a choice if they're completely aware that if they take this on, they'll be qualifying for the state raise?
I would ask Dr. Gosh to explain whether or not she articulated that that would be the case or not, but they made it pretty clear that that's not something that they were interested in going forward. Dr. Gosh.
So in meeting with the librarians, in the meeting that we had, I asked them if they wanted to be instructing the AET in the libraries. And I said, please raise your hand if you do not want to do this. And it was an overwhelming response of, we do not wish to do this. To speak to the piece related to the classroom teacher and the raise that would come with that. Not all of our libraries have their librarian in the rotation. They use their librarian as an instructional professional on their campus in the same way that, as an academic support for reading. So they may not necessarily be teaching. So we do have librarians that are not teaching. We have some that are in the rotation schedule, but that rotation schedule may not equate to 4 hours of instruction per day. So to blanketly say, would it qualify for the raise, I think would have to be something we would have to look into, because it is not something that is typically part of a librarian's job responsibilities.
Would it be that kind of a case by case? It wouldn't be all of the librarians, it might just be some? Would you think it'd be worth looking into so that they know that and could make a choice, or?
We would need to see clarification based on the definition that TEA provided. You need to be 4 hours in an instructional setting. The way AET is designed, or the way it could have been designed for those that would have been in a rotation teaching 50% of the time, I would still seek clarification from TEA just to ensure They just released a brand-new FAQ last week in which they clarified and superseded some of the communication that they had. So that's still a little bit technical. I would check, but the definition is 4 hours within an instructional setting. AET, the way we're proposing, is for the teachers, the 2 teachers that have volunteered to do AET, as well as the paraprofessional, would be teaching.
And I would say in terms of library services, I know one of the goals that we've stated several times, and I know even the individuals that have come to speak before the board, is that we wish to be librarians. We went to school to be librarians. We wish to be librarians. We want to lead students in reading. We want to integrate with teachers. We want to work with teachers in classrooms as that instructional support that their degrees have assisted them in doing. So as Ms. Davis said, it is something obviously we can consider. I would state at this point that what was brought to the board prior, in order for us to move forward, we have structured our library programs so that they can begin operating at this point. I would be hesitant to disrupt the concept of what we are trying to do instructionally, knowing what we are looking at in terms of academics. Many of our principals utilize their librarians as part of their leadership team, they utilize them as part of their instructional team. And they are looking forward to beginning that with the librarians that we have and the way that we've structured the program. So I am happy to examine it with Ms. Davis. I'm happy to look at it from the cabinet level. However, I would be hesitant to say make that kind of shift again now that we are in the school year.
I would go back to the reason why we're here this evening asking for this is that we were told we could move forward with hiring the AET teachers. We've found that to prove difficult. We just want to be able to move forward by hiring the paraprofessionals. So, or if the board would like to change their mindset on keeping the AET program going forward, then that's a decision we would have to make tonight as well. But typically when we run up against something like this, we just move forward with having the program the way that we deem necessary. But the way that we presented this was that we were going to go hire the teachers. Being unable to do that, we wanted to come back for board clarification to say, hey, this is another way we can do it, save a little bit more to the deficit, and get this done.
Ms. Jones, I think you're up first.
I was just wondering, due to the staffing issues with us not being able to find staff for the classrooms, would it be best that we pause the academic enrichment for this school year so that way district staff can focus on the other areas of academics?
I'd probably open that up to Ms. Davis and Mr. Holmes if they wanted to speak on.
And that is the reason why the specific board motion that was made was hire teachers. And when the motion is that specific, then that's what we have to carry on with. That's the reason why the specific agenda language says as deemed necessary. The execution of AET, whether we are able to find a teacher or a paraprofessional, that's why we are coming back to you today to say a paraprofessional doesn't take a teacher that we could put in a core area.
Ms. Jones's question, though, was, should we just eliminate the academic enrichment program for this year?
Pause.
So I apologize. We're not going to have.
That is something that.
We're not going to have the academic enrichment. That's what she's saying. Is that a possibility?
It is, of course, a possibility.
Is that something that would be recommended?
Having an AET position for our elementaries has proven to be beneficial because they can add that additional person in the rotation. By doing that, it opens up possibilities such as some campuses that have structured an extra PLC time for our teachers while the students are in that rotation. It benefits campuses at the elementary. Is it something that we could look into? Pause? Absolutely. AET was added back to the GT side soon before the school year began. And so we would still need to go out and hire. So yes, we could pause. Do we find value to it? We absolutely do, and I believe that it could help our academics. It is a STEM enrichment program that is that services all students, as opposed to GT that only services students who are identified.
Do you think Mr. Holmes would have anything to add to that? No? No?
But you'd be hiring outside people, not internally for it. I'm just concerned that we're not, if we finding people to fill the positions to actually implement the program.
For paraprofessionals, we wouldn't be taking them from the classroom if they're already in the classroom.
But to your point, Ms. Jones, we were going to hire outside for the academic enrichment teachers. What we're saying is that the price for the paraprofessionals would be $50,000 less than what we were going to plan to go out and hire the teachers.
And if I might add one more thing, when the decision was made in August 6th, I do believe that some of the schedules at the elementary already have that academic enrichment for this year. Some campuses might be waiting on the decision that is made tonight in order to move forward. So for some people, they have it in their schedule. What we're doing right now is we're focusing solely on GT services because those are required services for identified kids. So it may cause a problem, nothing that we can't work through. But I do believe some campuses do have it in their schedule.
So if we move forward with it, who's going to be teaching it then until you hire these people? Or is it on pause until you get somebody in to fill the position at the campus?
I'd ask Dr. Saunders to, yes.
So I think there's a couple of pieces to maybe think about as we dig into it a little bit more. Going back to the conversation about librarians, Dr. Gosh, help me if I get this wrong, please. We have already split librarians at the elementary level as well. So when Ms. Davis mentions the master schedule for elementary, it looks very, very different than it does at the secondary. Depending on how many students you have on the campus will depend on how many students you can place in a rotation. So rotation at the elementary usually consists of music and PE, and then past music and PE looks like based on campus needs. So when we talk about removing AET or splitting the librarians, which we've already done, to her point, some of those are already in the rotation. So then we'd be looking at what does that look like for a campus that has maybe 5 classes in one grade level, and we do have some of those. We cannot safely put 3 elementary classrooms in the gym or 2 elementary classrooms in music at one time, so we have to have that third rotation. I would just ask us to think about that master schedule as we engage in this conversation, because to Ms. Davis's point as well, it's going to directly impact academics in the way that teachers have time to plan. We've heard lots of conversations today about asking to do more this year, asking to do more. We are asking teachers to do a lot. We are asking academic trainers and assistant principals and principals to do a lot with academics. If we could give them the leeway to just design that master schedule to really support academics, I think it would be beneficial.
Ms. Canoyer, you hit your cancel button.
Yeah, I canceled just because
Okay.
she brought up the point that I was
Okay.
going to say
All
about
right.
splitting librarians. That's already been done, so there's no way they could handle taking on AET at this point.
Okay, I guess I'm next. After reviewing the report we got from our financial consultant and speaking with our other consultant, Dr. Gibson, and looking at CMAT audit and everything else, my concern is us taking on essentially new expenses for this school year before we have sat down and done our academic acceleration plan, financial solvency plan, and integrated those two things together. Because as we develop an academic plan, we can't be like, oh, hire 20 people here at the same time the finance people are cutting people, right? 20, right? Like those two things have to be completely intertwined and considered together, and things get prioritized within those plans and funded within those plans. And so we have a meeting now scheduled for September 2nd because that needs to get, those plans are going to get, accelerated and integrated and consensus and get implemented within our schools. So to take on additional expenses now when we are just trying to get those plans out there is challenging, because the fact is, we can reclassify expenses from our general fund over to Title I. So if we decided to pause it for this year, and if we amend our ESSA plan and use this 750,000 to, because that's how much we budgeted for this originally, use that 750,000 for some of our expenses that are currently sitting in our general fund, pausing this for a year would take $750,000 off of our deficit. And at a point where we are trying desperately to show our public that we are trying to reduce this deficit and doing what we can, especially because we got to come up with 13 or 14 million no matter what, with the Vader, I think would go a long way to show, hey, we're being responsible this year, we are pausing and we're coming up with a plan, and we're going to give you guys the plan, and we're doing everything we can, because while I absolutely adore enrichment, and I know some of our enrichment teachers, and don't hate me, right? But at some point, we got to take a tactical pause and look at the bigger picture. And because we don't have this going on right now, we have 2 of the 20 positions filled. So to go out and hire 18 additional personnel for this at a time when we're trying to right-size all of the positions just doesn't feel right. And I don't want to do something that we then have to unwind, because we know unwinding stuff in our district is so hard. So if we go hire 18 people and then it turns out this doesn't somehow fit into these plans, well, then we got to go undo it. So, but I do understand PLC time, right? And we have some amazing substitute teachers, and there's a lot of schools that do this in other districts and stuff like that, is you get those subs in, right? Which costs a lot less than a para. And so giving the principals the leeway and budget, so it won't be a whole $750,000 savings, right? And let them plan their PLC and their planning time schedules out according to their schedules, and get some subs in so that this doesn't cause them to lose the planning time they need to go get their Tier 1 instruction, because we do have a lot of amazing subs who can, keep the kids learning while the teachers get that little bit of extra planning time. But it's just, God, we're just on the cusp of doing these plans, and I'm not comfortable hiring 18 more people and spending another $750,000 that we could save.
Just a
Let's
point
see.
of clarification, ma'am.
Yes.
It's not a new cost. We've had AET over the last several years, so we do have it budgeted for. So I wanted to
Correct,
just
yeah, I
clarify.
think the hard part was we had 20 librarians and 20 GTs, then we went down to 20 and 10, and now we're talking about adding 20 more, and now we're back up to 50 people, so a lot of the reductions, we're kind of unwinding some of that. And if there's a chance to reduce that deficit by $750,000, at least for this year, until we can figure out where everything's lining up, that seems like the fiscally responsible thing to do until we have a better idea of where we're going to end up at the end of this fiscal year. So, let's see. So I guess, Ms. Stanford, you're next, if I'm reading this right?
Oh.
Okay. Sometimes he gets. Okay, yes, Ms. Stanford.
Okay, so the AET program is funded by title, right?
Yes, ma'am. Well, it can be this way. Yes, ma'am.
So if it's funded by title, how do we save $750 from our general? How do we?
Tony?
So, yes, ma'am. Technically, we can look at the general fund and find some of the expenditure that could qualify under the Title I and pay.
And replace?
And yes.
We could find
We can find-
$750,000 worth?
I mean, with the $200 million budget, I think we can if we try. I mean, we probably can find $700,000 from the general fund to move it to the Title I. We cannot reclassify what's already paid out of the general fund, but moving forward, we can, for example, right, let's say an instructional aid paying out of general fund right now, moving forward, if the Title I have the capacity, I can start paying that aid out of the Title I.
My only concern to the board is that we've been going back and forth on our recommendations quite a bit. And we've kind of stepped off in a certain direction saying this is what we're going to do. And our principals have built their master schedules around this. We would throw a monkey wrench, literally, into their master schedule if we don't move forward in this. So now they're going to have to figure out a way to provide that rotation in another way. What Mr. Kingman's not saying is that, to Ms. Ryan's point, we should be able to use those title funds in another capacity, but there's also a thing called supplanting. So you can't just jump in and start using it for stuff that you should be using local funds to use. To your point, most of our elementary schools, if not all of them, are title. So we can use it in a different way. But we kind of started off the year saying we were going to provide that. So now to go back to them, they're going to have to restructure a lot on their campuses to get this done.
Could I add one more piece?
Yes, ma'am.
Just logistically, I'm just talking logistics right now. And I understand we have two incredibly important focuses this year, finance and academics. I get that. Logistically, and Ms. Ryan is right, we do have some incredible subs. We do not have enough subs across the district to make sure all 20 campuses have coverage for that additional PLC. So logistically, what this would look like is the campuses that can secure subs will be able to do that PLC during the day, and the campuses that cannot secure subs are going to have to ask teachers to stay after school for the PLC period because we cannot do that during their conference. So the way it is outlined right now is teachers have their 45, 50-minute uninterrupted conference period, their prep and planning time, and with this additional rotation, they're able to get that extended planning. You'll hear it lots of different things, the PLC period. We're able to build that into the schedule so that teachers can have that guided by an academic leader on their campus, whether it's the trainer, the coach, or the principal. If we cannot secure subs, and I'm telling you right now, there's no way. We cannot get enough subs for all 20 elementary campuses on a regular basis. We're going to have to ask teachers to stay after school. I'm old school. I started teaching in 1997. I stayed after school to do my planning. This is a different time. We have a different type of teacher who needs a different level of support, especially when we talk about DOI. I just think that job-embedded professional development that happens during the day in the PLC is where we should really be thinking when we're thinking logistics right now. That's just my 2 cents.
So my question is, if we're guaranteed a $750,000 savings out of the general fund, because right now, what's the biggest challenge with the AET program, Dr. Fields? Finding teachers, or what? What's the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge, and then I want Mr. Kingman to speak, the biggest challenge about the saving of the funding, the biggest challenge was we were trying to move forward with finding the teachers. That proved difficult. We have another way to do it, but because we said teachers, we wanted to come back for clarification from the board. Typically in a situation like this, if we were to have a bilingual class where we needed to hire someone else, we couldn't find a teacher, we have procedures in district of how we follow those to get someone else in that class for support. And that would have been a paraprofessional. But in this particular case, because we obligated and said teachers, we wanted to get clarification. Had we not done that, we would have moved forward with the paraprofessionals already. Now, in terms of whether or not we're going to be able to actualize the entire $750,000 from title, I'd let Mr. Kingman talk about it, but we did have some carryover from last time, to your point. So, Mr. Kingman.
Thank you, sir. Yes, so we cannot guarantee the 700,000 because it's like Dr. Field said, we have the supplanting.
Right.
I mean, it's the supplemental, not supplanting. So if we decide not to move forward, then I do have to take a look to see what can we move out of the general fund to the Title I. And that, so basically, it's not a guarantee for sure that we can do that. But
Okay.
because of the supplanting.
It's not for sure. And if we use paras for this, we'd be saving money there.
Yes.
Any
50,000.
idea what we'd be saving with that?
50,000.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Stanford, before I go down?
I would just say, it
to-
sounds
okay.
like, we've kind of built our schedule on it already, and I'd hate to see us yank it out at this point in time when schedules and teachers are kind of built around it and depending on it.
Mr. Macias.
Yeah, I've obviously been listening to the entire conversation, and everyone said what I was going to say, so I'll be briefer in my response today. But essentially, I agree. Cutting resources is going to, again, not get us where we want to be academically as a district. So in addition to the schedule already being set, we have to also look at this helping our staff and ultimately our students. And by doing so, positioning us to do better academically. Obviously, we want to improve. We have the money already in the budget. We probably should have included paraprofessionals in the motion last time, or we wouldn't have seen this agenda item again, but we didn't. We were real specific with teachers. I'm worried that this issue is bigger because obviously there was, for a time, some uncertainty if we were even going to put the VADER on the ballot, and so people aren't going to necessarily run to this district if there's concerns about our financial stability. So the VADER's on the ballot now. We have an opportunity to go forward. This is something that is partially funded, at least by title, right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So it is, I think, something I could continue to support.
Completely funded by title.
Completely.
Yeah.
So I can totally support this because it is something I think that will benefit our district and be part of the puzzle pieces that really make our district stronger. So I just wanted to reiterate those points. Thank you.
Could I ask just two clarifying questions? So 18 of our campuses are currently operating with no enrichment person, like a week into school, right? They're already operating their master schedules, and they do not have an enrichment person. And we don't have the enrichment curriculum yet, right? We haven't even bought that. That's the thing we pulled to vote on now. So we have to hire 18 people, get them in processed into the campuses, and then we still have to get all of the supplies to implement this. Because we only have 2 people on a campus now doing this.
The supply is electronic, so it's an electronic license that we have typically received every year. We hadn't moved forward on purchasing that because technically we weren't going to be doing that. The GT teachers were not going to be doing that. That was something that the librarians were preparing for. And so we have made all of the calls. We'll be ready to start right away. There are some campuses that have a paraprofessional in a rotation. It's not across all campuses. What this would do is it would help standardize the curriculum for all 20 campuses. Some campuses, based on the staffing allocations that they receive, have a technology rotation with some paraprofessionals as well, but not all campuses. So this would place 1 paraprofessional at every campus, plus the 2 until those 2 teachers. And it would help standardize the possibility of all elementaries offering that with the curriculum, with enrichment to all students, and the possibilities of using that additional rotation to provide PLC for teachers.
And when they built their master schedules, because they did that obviously like in spring, that was back when librarians were going to be in the rotation as enrichment teachers. So while they're not doing enrichment, we still, I've seen this on a couple of campuses already, library can still be in the rotation. They can still be in the specials rotation where students go to the library. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to teach enrichment. There are librarians that are doing just library lessons. So if that was already in their schedule,
That's
to
correct.
go to the library, what we did with librarians doesn't change their master schedule at all, because those students can still go to that library rotation. They just won't be teaching enrichment. They will just be doing library stuff. They're going to read and check out books. Like, I guess when I was in school, right? When you would rotate to the library, and I've, seen this at other schools. So we don't have to mess with their schedule. The librarians can just be in the rotation.
We have some campuses that have elected to have their librarian in the rotation. The librarians are not necessarily teaching every single hour of the day. They rotate the classes through, and they cover library topics, reading, and support for those programs. However, we have campuses that the principals have the flexibility and have made the option to not want their librarian in the rotation. So we do have campuses that currently have no rotation for their librarians. So it is not a standard across the board that all of the master schedules were
I guess I'm confused, because
created.
until 3 weeks ago, the librarians were teaching enrichment, and they were in everybody's, because that's what the board passed.
So
They
I'm
had
going
to
to
be in the master
defer, so
schedule.
there's a little bit of a difference in an understanding of what a secondary, when you say master schedule, I know people often think of a 7 or 8 period day like we have at secondary.
No.
In terms of creating the master schedule for elementary, it looks a little bit different, and so I'd let Dr. Saunders kind of talk
yeah. No,
about
I'm
why
familiar.
that is different and why we have libraries that,
I've seen them
even
on
though
the
it was
wall.
just a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago, why there may not be a librarian in the rotation.
Okay, yeah. Can we go back to 3 weeks ago before we changed anything? Why would librarians who were tasked with teaching enrichment, why would they not been on ELOF's or Wortham's schedule?
So there's a couple of answers to this, and there's a couple of variations of this. So I've heard Ms. Davis say a couple of times, we're not standardized in our specials rotation across elementary. That's true, right? Some have art, some don't. Some have technology, some don't. Some have a STEM rotation, some don't. Some campuses use their librarian in the rotation, and some do not, depending on the skill set of that librarian, and honestly, depending on what the professional preference of that librarian is. That's period, end of story. That's just the conversation that happens in elementary, and I'll tell you why. Because in secondary, the librarian is the librarian is the librarian. Kids go to the library, they take classes to the library, and so forth. If you're one of the campuses that did not have art, did not have technology, did not have anything else, you were forced to use the librarian in the specials rotation. There was nowhere else for kids to go. There was not another option. So some campuses had the ability to do that, some did not. We have elementary campuses who spent the entire year without a librarian, period. Not a librarian in the rotation, just not a librarian on campus. So they utilized a paraprofessional in that way, when the reality was it was teachers teaching kids about the library, and the paraprofessional was there to support. So the model across elementary is very disjointed when we talk about the master schedule, because it's built on who you have in your staffing. If we were able to give elementary an AET paraprofessional, we could standardize that to a little bit more degree than what it is right now. The only thing that really concerns me at this point is that we need to think logistically about how we can have that additional planning time for teachers. This offers that capability.
I guess I'm back to being confused again. Let me see if I can ask it a different way. So before, the board voted months ago to rearrange the programs, right? And so we said, we're going to have 20 librarians, and they're all going to teach enrichment. And the board voted on that, and we're going to go down to 10 GT teachers, right? So all the principals went and planned their entire year, because that's what the board voted on back in May or June, right? So they made a master schedule back in May or June after we said that, and the board directed every librarian will teach enrichment and will be in the specials rotation. That's what we voted on. So they made that schedule, right? Now, 3 weeks ago, we said, oh, but you don't have to teach it unless you have some arrangement, right? So I'm wondering what happened to the schedule that they planned in May and June, where librarians were in the master schedule, or the library aides, and why can't that schedule from 3 weeks ago just be implemented now? Am I not making
The schedule,
sense?
well, the schedule from 3 weeks or whenever that was made was with a full librarian at each campus.
Correct.
Now we're splitting a librarian at all of our
Or they'll have an aide, and kids can go to the library with an aide and check out books and read, right? Like, I guess I don't know if I'm not making sense, like, why is the library?
I can't
We planned
understand.
for the library to be in the rotation after the board voted, as enrichment or whatever it is, but either way, library, there's a little thing on the schedule that says go to the library and see the librarian for something, and that's what was in place 3 weeks ago. And all of a sudden, between 3 weeks and now, all of a sudden, all the master schedules all got redone. I guess I'm not, it's not making any sense.
They
but-
did, because 3 weeks ago, then we chose to bring AET back to the GT side with the expectation of hiring GT teachers. So some of the master schedules got rearranged, because now the librarian may or may not be in a rotation, but the librarian was going to focus on library services. The GT teacher was supposed to teach GT and AET, but we had already planned to split some of the GT teachers because we were working towards the restructuring that was approved on May 15th. So.
And we can't tell our librarians, you're in the rotation now, and the library aides, because our teachers need planning time? Is that not within their contract? I mean,
Okay, so.
I would hope it would be, because if some of them are doing it, shouldn't they all be doing it?
So if I may, 2 weeks ago, or at the last board meeting, when we brought forward that we could not hire certified librarians for the libraries. Okay? That motion was made, or the recommendation was made by my office to this board.
Put a para at every campus.
To put a para at 7 of the elementaries, move some of those folks to the secondary, and we would split a para at one campus and a librarian at the other campus, with the full intent of proceeding with the AET curriculum. However, individuals spoke up, the question was asked, and the board asked directly, do they want to teach AET? And we said no, and the librarians said no in the public session. The motion to remove AET from the librarians was made by the board. It was not necessarily the recommendation that was brought forward on the agenda item. You all voted to remove the AET, which brought it back to Ms. Davis. So at this time, we have proceeded with the same plan that I had brought to the board at that board meeting. I now have 7 paraprofessionals at the elementary campus, which, by the way, were assigned today.
Awesome.
As
Thank
well
you.
as librarians at the other elementary campuses. The pairings were provided to the principals today, as was promised to them, so that they can train and begin their programs next week. Now, the paraprofessionals will be at their assigned campus 1 week, and then they will flip-flop with the librarian that they are paired with. In most of those cases, they are already in the rotation and teaching that. There are a few that are not. And, part of that is because our principals are given the autonomy to schedule their campuses and do what they feel is best for the needs of their students. However, if it is the will of the board, I'm sure the board can make the recommendation and tell the district how we need to manage the program. It is my recommendation as head of libraries that we maintain the program that we have, because I will be honest, it is very disconcerting for myself and the library program to every single week wake up all the way back from May of last year to not know what our library program is going to look like. So I would like to advocate for my librarians and the paraprofessionals who are taking on those roles to say they've been hired as librarians. If we need them in the rotation, they absolutely will step up and do the rotation, and in most cases, they are doing so. However, we have some that are not in the rotation, and I feel very strongly that our principals know what their campuses need. And I also understand the deficit, and I understand what that means in terms of employees and those things, as well as the title funding. And the recommendation that Ms. Davis is making today has to do with a way in which we can help to support and provide academic programs to our students and our principals without increasing the deficit today, without making any of those changes. And I think that's one of the things that we need to try to do going forward, because I am one that is very honest with my staff. The district's deficit is a problem when 86% of your budget is employees. So the only place to cut is that. So if there is a way to maintain programs, whether it is through a VADR or whether it is through using title funds, so that we can maintain programs and academic services for our students, then I feel very strongly that that is what we should recommend as an administration, and we are simply asking you as the board to consider those as a proposal.
I'd like a rebuttal.
Yep. Go ahead, Mr.
So,
Macias.
Ms. Ryan, some of your questions were very circular. You kept asking the same question over and over again. It takes time. So we're going to vote on this issue. If you don't agree, you don't have to vote for it.
I'm aware of that, Mr. Macias.
Well, then good, because you asked the same question over and over again. So the point is, the recommendation is before us now. And as it was stated, this is a campus type of decision. I feel like we are knee-deep in micromanagement on how we would implement this. The board is here to continue to support the administration. I think the recommendation is sound. I also wanted to rebut, because you spent a long time questioning, and there was an air of conspiracy, who and why and what.
Can
When
we
do we
just
know?
stop with the allegations and just keep it to the subject matter expert? I was truly trying to understand. I was speaking very nicely
I
to
don't know.
Dr.
It didn't
Saunders.
sound like you were.
Okay.
So bottom
We'll
line
continue
is,
to attack each other and then video clips. Just, can we stay professional? Please,
you
Mr.
know, if
Macias.
you can stay professional, I could do that too. But my feeling is, again, my feeling is that you put a lot of emphasis on questioning if administration was misleading the board. I don't know how else to say it. Because you're saying, when did you know? How did they know? I mean, it's quite obvious. So bottom line is, I support this initiative. Stop asking a million questions, and let's just get on with it. So if we're ready to vote, I'm ready to vote for this thing already.
Is it about Mr. Macias's professionalism? I'd appreciate a comment about that. I really would, Laura. You brought up in closed session that stuff like this is not acceptable.
That's
So-
way inappropriate, Ms. Ryan.
Right.
What do you mean?
Closed
It's way
session.
inappropriate.
Oh, no, we are allowed to talk about that, so,
No, we're not.
okay. Again, board professionalism.
Dr. Gosh, I want to thank you for that input, because that really helped clarify it for me. And you're saying that this is in place, it won't increase the deficit, actually, we're going to get a slight savings, and everything's kind of already been built on it, and you're asking, in your best professional opinion, for us to maintain it as it is. Am I stating? Okay, so then I'm going to support your recommendation and support this program.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the implementation of gifted and talented GT and the academic enrichment AE program as deemed necessary by administration.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Canoyer, second by Ms. Stanford. Can I ask one clarifying question? So this is not for anything specific, just whatever administration deems necessary is what will get executed, right?
It's as laid
deemed.
out in the presentation.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Your motion was as deemed necessary by administration.
Correct. We would
Yes.
like to
Okay.
be able to
Just making
move
sure
forward without
that was
having to
the-
consistently come back to the board and ask for correction every time we need to do something that's in the best interest of the students.
Right, you were already in motion, and
But now we have to come back because we
little
said
snag 'cause of
teachers,
the
so
wording.
going forward, we all know we're going to implement the academic enrichment program for the
right,
district.
and you don't need another snag.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I already said who, right? Did I say Ms. Canoyer and Ms.? Okay, sorry. Okay, you can proceed to vote. Okay, motion passes 6-1. All right, we are moving on to.
Would you like to go back to the?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, thank you. You were supposed to remind me. So now we're going to go back to, sorry, you didn't get a chance. 7C.
Yes, ma'am.
The last item on there is the purchase of the SAM Labs. Does everybody know what it is?
Lesson plan
Yeah.
software, hardware for K through 5, and this is what we'll be using for the academic enrichment classes that will be coming out of title funds.
Okay. Oops, hold on, I gotta clear things out. Okay, any discussion? If not, do we have a motion to approve the SAM Lab purchase?
I move that we approve the purchase of STEM lesson plan software and hardware for grades K through 5 from SAM Labs as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Canoyer, second by Mr. Macias. Any questions? If not, okay, then we will proceed to vote.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Motion passes 7-0, and thank you for reminding me of that.
Oh, no
Dr.
pressure.
Fields.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we are moving on to 8B, discussion and possible action to provide retention incentive for academic trainers for 25-26. Mr. Macias, this is your agenda item, so go ahead.
Yes, I asked the administration to put together, I guess, an incentive amount for our academic trainers. I'm obviously very disturbed by how we ended up here. And so I think back about if you want to create chaos or dismantle an organization, what's the first thing you do? You stop funding them. And so our state legislature has underfunded us. The second thing you do is you create division within yourself. So by them giving money to a portion of our employees, but not giving us the ability to give our additional employees the same fair compensation, you've now created an atmosphere where there is division amongst ourselves. So if we're fighting ourselves, we're not fighting the legislature, or we're not fighting those other forces that are causing these problems. So what we have here now is that scenario. I love our counselors. I've been a big supporter of our counselors, and it hurts me that we are in a situation where we can't fund them to the same degree. Same thing with librarians, same thing with nurses. It's painful that the guise of paying half of our employees is supposed to be good, but it creates inequities. So this is an attempt to start trying to right that. It's not the end, because there's certainly an opportunity for us to look at counselors, librarians, and other professions as well, even our administrators. And I guess what's painful is that over the last several years, we have worked hard to pay our employees what they're worth. Now we're here with all of these inequities. On top of it, a deficit. So the reason why I brought this back is because our academic trainers all took positions out of the classroom to educate and train and inspire our teachers. Many of them are new. They're DOIs. They require some additional training. These are really amongst our best. And I've talked to campus leadership. I've talked to teachers. Academic trainers rock. And so as a result, I feel the inequity that's been created with individuals who signed teacher contracts, just like teachers, needs to be corrected. And so this is an opportunity here that I'd like to see us do that. I've been kind of wrestling around with what that needs to look like. That's why the agenda item is blank in terms of a dollar amount, because we need to build consensus on what we're comfortable with. Because the other challenges, we don't have all the money in the world to match what Austin has done. So at this point, this initiative is about retention. It's about starting to write things. I'm confident later in this conversation you'll hear what we might be able to do for counselors and for librarians. In terms of academic trainers, before I get to a dollar amount, Dr. Fields, there are two things I want to kind of clarify. One is if we can look at academic trainers actually teaching students in small group, something similar to what RTIs do, to qualify them for that payment from Austin in the future. And that's something that we can look at for next year, because I know we have to look for creative ways to fund our employees. So that's a question that I'll just throw at you at this point, Dr. Fields. Is that a viable possibility?
I apologize. I'd have to sit down with the cabinet and look at, I know that it says 4 hours. I know that they made some amendments to say passing periods and conference periods kind of kick into
Conference
that
periods
now.
and lunch.
My only concern would be, is that from the start of school to the end, or by the 1st of September, or?
And those pieces are still being updated. Like I said, that's a very technical question. They're not coded as 087.
Okay, I know.
So because they're instructional support. So we would have to inquire what would we do if we could code them halftime as 87 and.
Well, and my goal would be then for you to start looking at the job description on what those deliverables need to be to qualify them going forward. Because this agenda item is only for an incentive. It's not an indefinite fixture. It's a Band-Aid. But it's an attempt to, of course, try to remedy the inequity that was created. But going forward, we have this year to work towards getting things in order by at least February, March, because contracts still need to be signed as we get into April and May, and I want to make sure they know where their compensation will be. So I think we can actually localize our job description to ensure that we incorporate an ability for that to happen. So just think through that, and we'll come back to that.
My only concern, though, and I got to say this.
Sure.
Every year I get an opportunity to say it, so I'm going to get closer
throw
to
it
the
out
microphone.
there, Dr. Fields.
I too want to see nurses, librarians, and counselors, as well as academic trainers, receive the same increase that the state gave to the teachers in the classroom. Because in their own way, to the counselor's point, they're teaching all day, every day. We didn't receive funding for that. And in our zeal to match that up, if we were to increase, it's going to be an increase to the deficit, which means at the end of the year, we're going to be more in a deficit. We're doing things right now to correct that. And prayerfully, and I mean, we're going to do some things to correct that. Those things come to fruition, and maybe we could move forward in a different way.
Well,
but right now, I'm just saying, and to your point, Mr. Macias, we heard the counselors. If we do something like this now, and I truly want to support this, I do. But the counselors are going to be back saying, "What's up?
Well, and that is fair. And like I said initially, causing division within ourselves.
Right.
So there has to be a commitment, and I don't want to get too far into counselors and librarians. It's not this agenda item.
I understand.
But it's generalities. So we will have to come back with a plan.
Yes.
If it's post-Vader or whatever that might need to look like, there needs to be a plan.
Understood.
And so the other part is that obviously academic trainers have signed teacher contracts, and I'm quite sensitive to that idea.
Yes.
They are teachers, they're utilized as teachers, and that's my second point. We had an audit done, a curriculum audit, that outlined our academic trainers were an asset to our organization, that they brought strength to our organization.
Definitely.
But what was also pointed out was academic trainers are not being utilized primarily for that capacity. They're being used for other things, which really in the end game hurts the ROI.
I think we've corrected that going forward.
So that's what I wanted to make sure that we're also working towards that. Are they reporting to district personnel, which was the recommendation, rather than campus leadership?
I think personally, and this is what I'd like to see done, I think it's best that they report to the campus. We have so many different designs of people who work on campuses that don't report directly to district personnel. They function under the capacity of the principal. What we have to do is make sure that the principals understand our expectations, and then that's what they're implementing on their campuses. And one of those is academic trainers should not be functioning as administrators on campus.
And that, because they're not administrators.
Correct.
And so if you're working through that, I can concede that as long as that message is delivered to campus leadership, that they are there to. But those are the two things, because this action item is not a permanent solution. It's truly temporary to really acknowledge the hard work of our academic trainers, work on retention, because I can tell you they're going to go back into the classroom. They might even go back to the classroom in our district. They may go elsewhere, and they are tenured professionals. So I thought long and hard about it. You did not put dollar figures on this agenda item, but
No, sir, we were waiting for recommendations that would come from the board, and then I asked Mr. Kingman to be ready to calculate those as.
Okay, so this is my thing. I have to be also cognizant of our deficit situation. And so I was going to, all academic trainers received the 1.5 raise. That's what they received.
Yes, sir.
So they don't necessarily need to get $5,000 that our experienced teachers received during this thing. So it can be less than that. So I'm guessing it would be close to about $3,500. But that's for the full year. So what I'm going to suggest now to cut our expenses is that we only pay them from August to December the same incentive we've given teachers. And if the Vader passes, then we end up paying the rest of it. That way, how many academic trainers do we have? 41?
I believe last count it was 47, right? Or what
We
did
have
do?
43 total.
43 now.
So 43 academic trainers.
Can I just say something? I need you to keep your train of thought, though.
Okay.
You made a statement. I'm just trying to save you. You said our experienced teachers. The most experienced teachers in the district are academic trainers. I'm just letting you know. That's why they're academic trainers, because they're training the other teachers how to teach.
I appreciate
I'm just trying
any
to
clarity.
save you later on so you don't get that back.
Well, I appreciate the
Yes,
clarity.
Well, except for Ms. McKinney.
Of course. But the idea would then not to give $3,500, because that would be, I mean, we need to also rely on the fact that the Vader can pass and is viable, and that's where we would get the additional compensation. What I would suggest then is we pay up to $1,650, which would be then the amount that we divide between August and December. And then, of course, we wait to see what happens with the Vader to take further action. So the math would essentially be $1,650 per academic trainer times 43, which is under 100,000, I think. What is the math?
That is 70,950.
See, and that makes it palatable because it is being responsible with resources, but it's also telling our trainers that they are valued. And in my hope, when we have our discussion with counselors, because it will be an agenda item, counselors and librarians, that we can find something that works. But it has to be conservative because we are now down this pathway. So that's where I'll open up the conversation.
Yes, sir.
Could I just ask one question? So is there a reason you only put academic trainers and you didn't put principals, assistant principals, counselors, academic coaches, because we have some of them, or nurses. Is there a reason they were excluded from your agenda item and you only wanted to include the academic trainers?
No, they were intentionally put for trainers because administrators, it's a whole different conversation, librarians, nurses, all different conversations. This would be really opening up the conversation for all compensation. So when I spoke with administration, the recommendation is to streamline it, which I agreed, streamline the recommendation so that we're talking about academic trainers. I am not against having any other further conversations as we go through, but for right now, my commitment was to look at academic trainers.
So I can't support this at this particular moment. I have nothing but love for our academic trainers. They're great, but we are going to be taking it directly out of the deficit. Dr. Fields just said we are adding to our deficit with this. This is not a fiscally responsible decision at this moment. I'm not saying it can't be revisited later. All of this can be revisited later, assuming the Vader passes and we can get our finances under control. Right now is not the time to be looking at this. And again, while I appreciate our academic trainers, there's just not, I can't find a pathway in my mind to support this, not at this moment. And also, I do want to give a shout out to all of the counselors that came up here and spoke their mind and kind of put themselves out there to let us know that, hey, there is some inequities here and we need to get those corrected. And that's also something we need to look at some point as well. So yeah, like I said, I'm just not going to be able to get behind this at this moment.
Yeah, and for me, it's the divisiveness too, right? To have one category of employee and not others. You know, that's why when we talked about the Vader on Monday, I was trying to get the board to apportion, you know, $3 million to our campus-based personnel, right? The campus, like, that's where we've done a lot of changes, right? We've added to classroom size and we've cut days of principals, right? We've done a number of things there. So if we can get this Vader passed, can we reinvest some of that money back into our campuses? And all the categories of employees that are down on campuses that are doing amazing things. So I definitely wouldn't want to take action on one classification of employees when there are so many people on those campuses who are, trust me, a principal's probably with kids in her office more often than she wants kids in her office, right? Like she'd rather go visit the kids than them visiting her type thing. But it's just I can't divide classes of employees at this point and just single out one group. And hopefully we can, as part of the two plans we're going to put together, that's what we have to look at is how do we fund academic priorities and all of the necessary support staff to get the best academic outcomes. And I'm hoping that level of analysis, we can right-size that. So go ahead, Ms. Stanford.
Yeah, I'm looking at this as just one step toward trying to smooth out, can't totally equate to what the state did, but try to smooth out some of the inequities that occurred from the state's action. This is just a first step. And in my opinion, it would have to be after the Vader passes, if the Vader passes. This is not, in my viewpoint, this is not a pre-Vader action. I could support some repair work for compensation after the Vader passes. This would just be one step in that. Academic trainers, what's unique about the trainers is that they have teacher contracts. And they were pulled out of classrooms because they're so great. So they're told, you're so great, we want you to be teaching teachers and helping the teachers in their classrooms, and they've been doing a great job at that. But now they feel like they're betrayed because we did what you asked of us, and now that just kicked us out of this raise. But we're supposed to be recognized as the super teachers, really great teachers. You've told us we are, and we're there to help improve other teachers so that they come up higher too. So it's all part of the academic journey that we're on to improve our whole district picture. So that's where I see them as in a slightly different category, and there's uniqueness to every category. And the way I was looking at this is to take what teachers have made since August, September, October, November, what they would have made by December, so that's 5 months, and just give them an incentive for that 5 months that equates to what they would have made if they'd been given the teacher raise. But that would be an incentive after the VADER passes. But I already had intended to come back and revisit counselors, librarians, and any others that we need to look at to start planning post-VADER actions, because that's a message to our taxpayers, as you had said, Ms. Ryan. That's a message to our taxpayers. It's a message to our employees who felt so blindsided by what the state did. They just felt, they feel devalued, and it wasn't the district that did that. They know that, but they still feel devalued and frustrated and discredited and all kinds of horrible feelings from what happened. We can help to begin to rectify that, and I think incentives is a great way to do it as we kind of eke our way through getting ourselves right-sided with our budget. So I would be in favor of taking some action in this category with the caveat that it's after the VADER passes. And next month, I had planned to bring back some of the other groups as well. So I had already planned to bring back counselors, librarians, and to your point, Ms. Ryan, possibly some of the others. Assistant principals are vital. I mean, we need them. They're the backup in discipline issues and so many other things. So we can begin to slowly piece something together and kind of put a flag in December, incentive paid, and see how it goes from there. So that's what I was looking at this as.
Ms. Canoyer.
I never want it to be said that I don't support our employees, because I do. I've been there. I know how hard every single person who is affiliated with a district works, not just at the campus level, but at the district level as well. I can't support something that doesn't include all our people, that doesn't make it something that we can look at. I can't do this now. This needs to be a thoughtful process, go through and look at what can we do, and it does all, unfortunately, hinge on whether the VADER passes or not. If we don't have that extra funding, I don't see how we can do something else. I am not opposed to doing incentives. I just think it needs to be a thought-out plan. I think it needs to be something that everybody on the board can support, and we've got to have the funding to do it. What I might suggest is that we have maybe an ad hoc committee that works, possibly, to come up with a proposal that addresses every category, what looks fair, how we can support our administrators as well, who didn't receive any of that either, and they're frankly some of the frontline people that are making things happen at the campuses. So that would be my recommendation moving forward.
I'd be willing to serve on that committee.
Well, this is very good input. I guess I just want to be clear that I want to support all of our employees, and I've had a history of supporting all of our employees. And I'm just not sure how much more we can actually do, because I do want to allocate some of our VADER resources to compensation, and that's definitely the plan. But the idea is to keep all of our employees motivated and valued. And the fact that we heard from administrator today that spoke, and I've heard from them when I visited campuses, it all means something. But that's a process, and we have to complete that process probably very quickly if we're going to come back with a recommendation. And then I can't imagine, would it be all post-VADER? Is that what we would say we would do if the VADER would have passed? My only rub, and again, nothing that, again, I'm telling you, this creates division, is that less than a month ago, we passed stipends for $283,000. And there was no discussion about, oh, this is a big expense, we can't do it. We passed it because it was important to our employees. So we're drawing the line now, and that's my concern. So why are we drawing it here when we know retention of our academic trainers and the inequity created through Austin for people that sign teacher contracts isn't being resolved? But I'm also sensitive. I've already heard from many of you here, so I don't want to put a motion forward that fails. So what I can do is we can look at an ad hoc committee. That does seem to be the sensible way to move forward with this, and then figure out what we might be able to do to bring some sort of equity to this situation. But as Dr. Fields had stated, we can't promise $5,000 for every employee at so many levels, at least not out of the gate. And so we still have to lobby our legislature to fund us so that we can do that. But I want our employees collectively to know, I hear you, and let's figure out what we can do. So I'll go ahead and pull this motion. We can start an ad hoc committee and then come back.
Bring it back next month,
Yeah, September.
but have more people in it,
Of course.
okay? I'll be happy to serve on that committee as well.
All right.
All right, we're going to keep rolling because we may set a new recent record for how quick we're going to get out of here tonight, Dr. Fields. So, because the next agenda item, the middle school, I talked to Ms. Jones. Part of this is one, just parents out in the community knowing they have options, right? And communicating with their schools and their schools' teachers about their students' math and reading and figuring out what's best for their kid. Should I be in double block? Should I not be in double block? Do I need to be in an elective, right? And all of those communications. But we'd like to push this to next month.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we want to keep an eye on this program. This was a major kind of academic program. So figuring out how many kids are in each program and then watching their progress to see return on investment will be great. So like we talked about, we'll push this to September, look at some data points. EOI will look at some more and integrate this into the academic plan and everything else. So I'm good, Ms. Jones and I are good, just kind of wait until September on this. So, I know we're sailing. Go, Ms. Stanford, you are up. On 9-8D, Student Academic Ad Contest.
Okay.
Go.
This is something I've been thinking about for like the last 2 years, and I was discussing it with a teacher last night, and we got real excited just talking about the potential and what it could help Judson accomplish academically. And at one point, he said, we ain't no D, we're a silent B. And I liked that. I want to start thinking in terms of being a B district. We deserve to be a B, and I think we can be a B. So with that in mind, I'm suggesting that we have a contest for upperclassmen, and we have them create advertisements. And I say advertisements because commercials, which we all hate on TV, and why do they keep doing it? Because they're working, because they do buy brain cells, because people do respond to them. They do cause them to buy products. So commercials are powerful. Super Bowl, everyone's excited about the commercials and the game, but the commercials are really big. So I want to use that and have a contest called Reading is Fire. And my nieces had to explain to me what that means. And I think it's a great sounding, I like the word fire. So we'd have the upperclassmen, we're going to kind of start small, have the upperclassmen create pro-reading advertisements, which will follow a basic set of rules and be voted on by a panel of judges, which will be a combination of volunteers, board, cabinet members, teachers, whoever is interested. They will submit these commercials, and we will judge them. We'll have first, second, and third place winners with prizes in monetary means. It'd be gift cards. And I already have a sponsor lined up to provide the money for that. So it'd be a $500 first prize, $300 second, and $200 third prize gift card for the winning advertisements. And then what would we do with these ads that the kids have created, selling the idea that reading is incredible and you're going to be a much cooler person if you read? We will show them on the Jumbotron, the website, in libraries, in closed session section of the board, so you don't just have to look at that billboard that says you're in closed session. We'll show our commercials. and as often as possible in classrooms. Other campuses could complement this contest by having their students, if they want, create posters that say, "Reading is fire." Remember the Smokey the Bear? Do like the Smokey the Bear posters for reading. Only you can prevent ignorance, right? So have,
I want that T-shirt.
yeah. So the smaller, the other campuses, elementary and middle school, could participate if they wanted to. That'd be optional. My vision would be over time that this gets so big that every campus votes on the commercials, like American Idol. You know, they all get to vote, so now they're getting a civics experience as well, and they're participating in the vote. But for now, we'll just have a panel of judges that votes on it. I think it could create excitement, and it could create involvement, and better yet, it's students telling students, reading is fantastic, and you'll be a better person for it. So with that, it's low cost too, let me add that, doesn't add to the deficit. Let me also add that. And Ms. Taggart, if you want to have any say, in case there might be questions about participation.
Yeah, or Dr. Fields, is this something you want to sign up to do? Would you need board action on this? Is this something you guys are interested in just taking on? I'll leave it up to you, Dr. Taggart.
We stand ready to serve at the will of the board. I would probably have to sit down with Dr. Taggart and see if we could put some more structure to the idea. But definitely, if this is something the board wanted to move forward with, we could make it happen. Dr. Taggart.
Definitely, we are on board with promoting literacy and the love for reading and making sure that we accomplish our goals academically. We would definitely collaborate with our friends in C&I just to make sure that we are on the same page, but it's
doable.
It's just it's definitely doable. It's a matter of just getting the word out there, creating parameters on how long the video will be, the point of contact, where would the students submit, and those kinds of things, and then it would just run.
The only thing I'd ask Ms. Stanford is I really don't want the communications department to be split-focused until after November 4th. I have to say that the right way.
What if it was done in conjunction with Read Across America Day?
That is something that we've thought about as well. We have already been thinking about reading initiatives kind of in the breaks, like Christmas break, spring break, and things like that. And so it's definitely something that can be doable in conjunction with those activities.
Is that after
It's in
November?
March, apparently.
Okay, perfect. Yes, ma'am.
Well, and then also the Final Four reading competition, which is
They said they were gonna
renamed
try and
now.
bring
It's
that
going to be
back.
run by the Bexar County Coalition of School Boards. I've got a a Zoom about it next week with more of the details. So maybe we could put Read Across America, that competition, the Reading to the Final Four, whatever the new name is, competition, along with ads, and kind of synthesize that all together.
Yes.
Because that's
Yes,
after November 4th,
absolutely.
and Dr. Taganon said anything after November 4th she's up for, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
You think you need
It all
board action,
ties
or is that
in.
something like Ms. Stanford and I can work with you guys on, and I'll get you all the...
We really don't know what the action would be right now. I'd
Yeah.
ask you
We'll just
to
go
let's
through
sit
it.
down
Just
with
have
Ms.
one.
Stanford.
I'd like board agreement that they're all behind it, and we'll have one.
Understood.
Can't we vote on that?
We could? Yes.
Go ahead.
You can. You
Go ahead. I'm going to make a motion.
Go ahead. Go for it, Ms.
I'm going to go for it. I'm going to make a...
Reading is your passion. Go for it, girl.
Reading is fire.
Reading is
So,
fire.
I'm going to make a motion that the board support a student academic ad contest for promoting reading in the 25-26 school year.
I second that, Laura. You're welcome. We all second it. All right, so we
Third.
will, third, fourth. All right, we are going to proceed to vote that we support this. Okay, that passes 7-0, and Ms. Stanford and I will work with you with her portion of it, and I'll hand off, the Bear County portion, and
Understood.
we'll just work out details for after November 4th.
On it.
For that, so. All right, so exciting. We get to move on to training, conferences, events, board committee updates if you're a committee chair, and board norms. So let's start down to the left, Mr. Macias.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, we have a lot going on, and so, but we haven't done a lot with our internal audit committee, so we do need to get that back. So, and there's some folks that expressed interest from the community, so I'd like to re-examine if we're going to have it as a board committee, so we'll talk about if we want to include citizens.
Definitely.
Okay, so if we're good with that, I'm comfortable with it as well, but that'll come soon, because we'll get that on the calendar for September. But TASB is on the horizon, and that'll be a very important conference. The other thing I wanted to note is I did get confirmation on Ms. Eaton's service, and it will be September 5th at 12 o'clock at Redeeming Grace. So I just wanted to put that out there. That's all I have.
I don't know, we'll get the details. Okay, Ms. Jones.
Okay, I have several things. I'm still looking for my primary and alternate for the Finance Board Advisory Committee. So somebody who is a parent or community member in District 2, reach out to me if you're interested in serving on that. I did also complete the TEA school safety training, as well as the Public Information Act training through the Attorney General. Another thing I wanted to put out, just so everybody knows, I am having a major surgery on Tuesday, so I'm going to be out of pocket. My doctor says 2 weeks. I'm hoping that's all it is, but she's not going to let me drive, and my husband's not going to chauffeur me, so I'm going to be forced to rest. So I can be reached by phone, but I have reached out to several of the schools. I got invitations to things, and I'm just unfortunately not going to be able to be in the position where I can go anywhere. So if you pray prayers, please, thank you. And I look forward to being back with you guys soon.
Awesome.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Mrs. Lee.
Okay, just to piggyback with Ms. Jones about the Finance Committee, I have a handful that's expressed that they wanted to be in there. That's why I asked you, like, is it really just 2, or if they can attend or something? I guess they really want, like, just to help out, with the input or anything that we can talk about, especially about finance. And then I just visited schools last Friday, I believe last Friday, I think. I just don't want to, the first day, the first week of school, I don't want to interrupt anyone. I know it was just a surprise, but just to hear things a lot from the elementary school side and also from the middle school and high school, and everything's positive. So, and I just want to, see some kids. So I just visited. And thank you for seeing me, actually. I know it was a surprise, but thank you for accommodating me a little of your time. Thank you.
Ms. Ganoyer.
Thank you. There hasn't been a whole lot of events with back to school. I do want to talk about convocation real quick because that was a great, fun day. I want to thank Mrs. Greathouse because I know that she secured sponsorship for all but a couple thousand of the cost of convocation. And I want to thank the whole team, everybody who worked to put that on. It's an opportunity for me to say hello to so many people that I've known over the years, and I appreciate all of you. I went to Meet the Rockets. Thank you, Mr. Pocket. I went to Meet the Patriots, and I'm so sorry, Mr. RC, don't schedule them on the same night as me. I had to go to the one that hit my calendar first, but my heart was with you. And looking forward to TASA TASB coming up to get some more great ideas about how we can move forward with our plans for the district.
All right, Ms. Stanford.
Yep, so congratulations to Hopkins for winning the Spirit Award. Am I wrong? Oh, no, I'm wrong. Oh, I'm sorry.
It was rigged.
Don't Oh, Mrs. Combs is here, and she will take the stick and run.
Another H school.
I got it.
Sorry, Hartman Knights. Hartman, great job.
Hartman, congratulations, Hartman, for winning convocation. Oh, my goodness. When we first started doing this, I thought I needed to make a long list of everything I've done, and I've come to decide y'all don't really want to hear all that. So I will just say I visited some of the professional development classes that the ATs were teaching, and it was very impressive to see how teachers were responding to that kind of training. And one teacher of 8 years left that class. It was Miss Wood's class. It left that class saying, I now feel comfortable to implement that technique of classroom discussion because of what you just taught me than I ever have in 8 years. So it's a powerful thing that they're doing. I also have plans to visit the counselors and the librarians, just so you know. Okay.
All right, Mrs. Potteet.
So I recently attended the TEA new trustee meeting. That was actually incredibly informative. I got to meet Mike Barath, the commissioner of TEA. Also made some contacts with a bunch of different new board members and some old board members that have been working with the state of Texas and just throughout the state of Texas. So made some really good contacts there. It was just a great training. Cannot express how informative and how grateful I was to even get to go to that. And then after that, wasn't able to do much because it was back to school, and I do have 2 small ones. And then I got COVID, so I've been down for the last week and a half. And also, Stephanie, if you need an Uber driver, feel free to give me a call. Like, I know your husband's not big on driving,
She
so
tested negative
absolutely.
twice, just
I
so
am
you know.
negative.
She's okay.
Yes, I am negative, but yeah, that's pretty much what's been on my docket this last few weeks.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna have a busy year. I was one of 34 trustees from across the state selected for the Leadership TASB class of 2026.
Congratulations.
So I will be traveling all over the state to all different school districts. We're going to Harlingen, to Texarkana. There's places I had to go Google. I wasn't even really sure where they were. But being able to bring back best practices, and be able to work with so many school board members from all different districts. And I looked up, and there's some of them that are our size and our demographics, right? Like, so I'm so excited some of those peer districts we talk about, I'll be able to meet and get to know, because, you know, just like Mr. Kingman brought a new report I like, I'm hoping we can bring back a ton more stuff for the next year that we can work on to help our students. So, and that'll kick off at TASB. I head down there a couple days early to meet them, and then I'll catch up with y'all
Yes, ma'am.
at the rest of the conference. Yeah, busy back to school stuff. I love it when everybody got back on campuses. I also went to a PD at 8 in the morning, which I thought on English PD that Ms. Walks was giving, and I have never seen a more energetic group at 8 a.m. They didn't walk in that way, but by the time we walked out, we were down. Dr. A was standing in the back watching, like, what's going on down here? Y'all being too loud for 8 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, it was just an amazing English PD by her, and the comments to say this is the best PD they've seen. It was so inspiring. And
She's an entertainer.
she is an entertainer. So I'm like, when you're modeling a class, I'm like, give me a call, because I'm ready to come watch. So Mrs. Potteet and I love teacher prep days because we get to go just wander around and just see who's in their classrooms, and we found all sorts of people. So we met Mrs. Shoup with the new RISE classroom, and got to hear about all her excitement, and a lot of new to the district teachers. Got to meet Dr. Short. Was that at Salinas? I don't know. They all blended together because we were just in the car driving around. So sorry we couldn't make it to every campus, but we just got to see so many people's beautiful designs and everything while they were working. Had some conversations. So thank you guys for everything you did to get those schools ready. Even the schools who aren't new, getting them ready because they looked beautiful for the kids. So I got a chance to go to Veterans Memorials, meet the Patriots, because again, everybody schedules everything on the same night. So that's the one I got to. But looking forward to a lot of other events now coming up. So because if you haven't met our board, if you invite us, we will generally come if we can, right? So just keep sending those invites, because we want to be at your schools during the day, and we want to be at your after school events. About committees. The finance committee, now that summer's done, is starting to stand up, so that's why you hear some of your board members. They're going to be trying to find a parent or a community member for a primary and an alternate. from their area that'll be on the committee. They'll be open to the public, so anyone can come. We just want to make sure that, we're getting like representative votes, right, from across the district, and we're hearing everybody's voices. Then I'll talk to you about employees then. After that, so we're looking to get that information by the end of the first week of September, so we can get calendar invites out and get that on the schedule, and excited to just start hearing from the community about finance. And then I'll be getting with Ms. Jones, because I'm handing off what was the Innovation Committee and is now the Academic Programs Committee, and you're the new chair of that, so I'll get with you, and then you can get with Ms. Davis, and we'll start working on getting that committee out there too. But yeah, committees are posted to Board Book just like any other meeting, and those are open to the public. I used to just wander into ones when I was a parent. I used to show up at facilities, and Ruben was always like, "Why are you here?" But I just like to go to committees. So you'll start seeing those along with Audit Committee, our three big committees right now showing up on the agendas, and people are welcome to come and give their input and be part of the process and get involved. So I think that's all I have. Dr. Fields, anything else?
Thank you for the short meeting.
I know. I'm all excited. Like, hold on. Like, I don't even know where my paper is. I don't even know what to say at the end,
Just
other
grab
than,
this.
oh yeah, that's all I do. So the time is now 8:19 p.m. on the same day we started, and this meeting is adjourned. Sometimes.